Why are you so anxious? And what if I told you your anxiety is the price you pay for running away from freedom? Sounds unsettling, doesn't it? Because deep down you know the answer isn't simple. Jean-Paul Sartre once warned us that our deepest anguish doesn't come from poverty, rejection, or even death. It comes from our greatest privilege, freedom. But what does that mean for you right now? Are you actually living or just chasing relief? What you're about to discover might be exactly what you've been avoiding all along. And facing it could change the way you experience life itself. Imagine this: life often begins the moment we stop running, the moment we look straight at what terrifies us. From the dawn of philosophy, thinkers have wrestled with what we call the human condition. An endless case file on the struggles we face simply because we're human. But here's the twist. Why is it that some people collapse into existential crisis while others seem almost untouchable? Why can we feel empty even when we have everything we need to live comfortably? And why do we keep denying our own responsibility for the choices we make? By the mid-20th century, a French philosopher, Jean-Paul Sartre, dove headfirst into these questions. His masterpiece being in Nothingness and his famous lecture, Existentialism is a Humanism, shook audiences by confronting them with an uncomfortable truth. We are free, radically free, and that freedom is heavier than most of us can bear. Sartre once said, "We are condemned to be free." At first glance, it sounds liberating, but think again. Doesn't it also feel like a crushing weight? That's exactly his point. This isn't about choosing between chocolate or vanilla ice cream. It's about the terrifying depth of existential freedom. The kind of freedom that forces us to decide who we will be, what our lives will mean, and what values we're willing to live or die for. And here's the scary part. This freedom always comes with a shadow. The void. A gap between what is and what could be. That gap is where our anxiety is born. Sartre explains it with a haunting image. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a cliff. Two emotions hit you at once. First, fear, that tightening in your stomach, the thought that you could slip or be pushed. Fear is easy to manage. Step back, be careful, control your surroundings. But then comes something far darker. Anguish. The chilling realization that nothing stops you from jumping, that your freedom is absolute, even to destroy yourself. Have you ever felt that intrusive whisper, that dangerous possibility your own mind suddenly puts on the table? That is the vertigo of freedom. And this was only the beginning of Sartre's shocking vision. So what do we do with this vertigo of freedom? Sartre wasn't the first to notice it. Long before him, Kierkegaard gave it a name: the dizziness of freedom. He explained that fear is about external threats, things outside us. But anguish comes from inside. It's the realization that nothing is holding us back from choosing, even choosing the worst possible option. Think of Dostoevsky. In his letters, he swore over and over to give up gambling. Each time he promised himself, "This time I'll stop." And yet the moment he saw a roulette table, he was back at it. Why? Because deep down he knew nothing truly prevented him from breaking his word. His promises were just words until his actions gave them weight. And isn't that the same for us? We can commit to being faithful, to quitting a bad habit, to living with discipline. But the uncomfortable truth is that at any moment we can break our own rules. That's why Sartre called freedom both a gift and a burden. You and I, no matter what values we set, are never permanently bound to them. At any moment we could betray them, and that realization is terrifying. Nietzsche described it as standing in a universe where God is dead. Without a cosmic plan or divine order, we're left completely alone with the full responsibility for our lives. No manual, no guaranteed destiny, just an open, infinite space where we are free to create or to destroy. Would you dare to carry that weight? Most of us don't. Instead, we look for escape routes. And here comes Sartre's most intriguing and maybe most uncomfortable concept: bad faith. Ask yourself this: have you ever wished you could just stop being you? Stop carrying the responsibility of choosing every moment. Maybe you've thought, if only I could just be someone with a fixed identity, someone whose path is already written. That's bad faith. It's when we lie to ourselves, pretending our freedom doesn't exist. Sartre illustrates this with the example of a waiter. If the waiter knows he's choosing to play the role, smiling, serving, performing, there's no problem. But the moment he convinces himself that this is all he is, that his essence is nothing more than being a waiter, he's living in bad faith. He's reducing himself to an object, a safe, predictable identity. But here's the twist: we do this all the time. When we say, "That's just who I am. I can't change." When we excuse ourselves with "I'm hot-tempered, I was raised this way, take it or leave it." Sounds familiar. But Sartre would stop us right there. He'd say, "No, that's an illusion. You're not a finished product. You're a work in progress. Every moment you choose again who you are." That truth is terrifying, but it's also liberating. Because if you're not chained to who you were yesterday, you can reinvent yourself today. But wait, this raises a darker question. What happens when we face not just ourselves, but others? When we step into the battlefield of judgment, opinion, and social masks? That's where Sartre takes us next. And it gets even more unsettling. Tell me, have you ever been completely relaxed, lost in something you love, only to suddenly realize someone might be watching? That instant changes everything. What was light and joyful becomes heavy. You're no longer just you, you're an object under someone else's gaze. That's exactly what Sartre called the look. He describes it as the moment we become painfully aware that other people see us, evaluate us, and judge us. And it doesn't just sting, it reshapes who we think we are. I still remember it happening to me for the first time. I was a teenager singing loudly at home, window open, not caring about how I sounded. Then it hit me. What if the neighbors are listening? In seconds, my joy turned into shame. My voice felt ugly, embarrassing, exposed. Nothing had changed except the possibility of being seen. Have you felt that? This is why Sartre insisted our identity isn't built in isolation. It's forged in the tension between how we see ourselves and how we believe others see us. Carl Rogers, a modern psychologist, echoed this: children who grow up with love and acceptance build a stronger sense of self. Why? Because early on, we learn to see ourselves through the mirror of others' eyes. And here's the paradox: we need others to confirm who we are, but their gaze can also imprison us. That's why Sartre's play No Exit delivers his famous line, "Hell is other people." He didn't mean people are evil. He meant that being trapped in the endless judgment of others can feel like a prison. But here's the twist you might not expect. We can't escape this dynamic. No matter how much we say, "I don't care what others think," deep down we do. And in some ways we must. After all, what does it mean to be brave if no one recognizes it? What does it mean to be kind if no one experiences it? So the question isn't, can I live without others? The real question is, how do I live authentically while being seen, judged, and misunderstood? Sartre challenges us. Don't reduce others to objects, and don't reduce yourself either. To live authentically means to accept this messy, risky dance of freedom and judgment without hiding behind masks. Scary, absolutely, but also deeply human. Because the alternative, hiding in bad faith, pretending we're just a fixed identity, is nothing but a slow death of the spirit. But Sartre doesn't leave us in despair. In fact, he takes a surprising turn toward optimism. Up to now, it might feel like Sartre is dragging us into a dark pit. Freedom, anxiety, judgment, bad faith. But wait, this is where his philosophy becomes strangely uplifting. For Sartre, being human means being unfinished. We are never a final product. We're always a project, always in the making. Think about it. So much of religion, philosophy, even self-help culture dangles this promise of reaching a final state, enlightenment, heaven, self-actualization, the perfect version of you. But Sartre flips the script. He says, If you ever became complete, finished, unchanging, you'd be no better than an object, lifeless, dead. It's the fact that we're incomplete that keeps us alive. Every day you have new choices, new opportunities, new risks. That's not a curse, it's what makes your life a living story instead of a closed book. He illustrates this beautifully in Existentialism is a Humanism. A young man came to Sartre during the World War II, torn between two choices. He could stay home to care for his mother, who depended on him, or he could join the resistance and risk his life for a greater cause. Which was the right decision? Sartre's answer shocked him. There was no universal answer, no divine sign, no cosmic manual. The young man would have to choose, and in choosing he would not just solve his dilemma, he would define himself. Do you see the power in that? Your choices don't just shape your circumstances, they shape you. Yes, that responsibility is heavy. It means failure is yours too. But it also means no one, not fate, not God, not society, can take away your authorship. You are moment by moment the writer of your own identity. Sartre warns us about something he calls the spirit of seriousness, the belief that we're born with a predefined purpose. Sure, it's comforting. It's easier to think everything happens for a reason. But he argues that clinging to that is just another escape route. It robs us of the chance to create unique meaning in our lives. So instead, Sartre invites us to do something radical. Embrace uncertainty. Accept that you will never be finished, and that's exactly what makes you free. It's terrifying, yes, but it's also exhilarating. Because if nothing is written, then everything is possible. But this leaves one final question. Maybe the hardest of all. If freedom is such a burden, why embrace it? What's the positive side of all this? That's where Sartre delivers his ultimate twist. So, what's the good news in all of this? At first, Sartre's vision sounds like a nightmare. No divine plan, no guarantees, just you alone with the weight of your choices. But look closer, he's not crushing us with despair. He's handing us back our power. If no cosmic script exists, then nothing limits what we can create. Every choice is yours. Every value is yours. Every new chapter you write it. Yes, we are condemned to be free. But that condemnation is also the greatest gift, because it means you are not a copy of anyone else's story. You are the author of your own. Sartre even called this a kind of purifying reflection to remember again and again that you are radically free. That no mask, no excuse, no social role can take that away from you. And maybe this is the most human truth of all: freedom will always feel heavy. It will bring anxiety, mistakes, even regret. But it also brings possibility, creativity, and authenticity. Think of your life as a canvas. Every decision you make is a brushstroke. Some strokes are messy, some are bold. Some you might wish you could erase. But together they form a painting no one else could ever create. So the real question isn't, how do I escape freedom? The real question is, what masterpiece will I create with mine? And that's where Sartre leaves us. Not with a manual, not with rules, but with an invitation to stop running from your shadow and start building a life that is truly your own. So let me ask you, what kind of story do you want to write with your freedom? Leave your answer in the comments. I'd love to hear your reflections. And if this journey resonated with you, consider subscribing, not just to follow the channel, but to keep sharing these conversations that remind us we're not alone in the search for meaning. Because in the end, it's not about escaping the weight of freedom. It's about learning to carry it with courage, with honesty, and with the joy of knowing this life is yours to create.